anymore how they get away, but how they do.
And they do, but I don't understand how, and it shouldn't happen anymore.
No, hopefully someone along the way takes care of that issue, or at least does something. So.
Yeah. Mentioning AJ Styles, so it looks like this is going to be a farewell to The Undertaker at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah. Okay.
Now, what's your opinion? Do you think he should go out like he would like old school style, where he goes out on his back taking a pin, or do you think it should just be like a farewell, no match?
When I seen that advertised, two thoughts went in my head about that. One, it's just going to be him saying farewell. I wanted my time to say goodbye, thank you, etc., etc. It would have been great. There's side of me, it's going to be one of those wrestling setups to where there could be someone coming out challenging for one more match, and he may not answer that night. He may say, he may not answer till a month or so later. If that should be the case, it's one of those toss-ups. But if it would be in their match, I believe it should be against AJ. And we talked about this before. Is that I'm glad that his last match went against AJ, and they did what I thought was really a very live match, even they called it a boneyard match. It was a good match to go out to. But I would like if there was one more thing he was going to do in a ring, I would like to see him having a real one-on-one in a ring with AJ Styles. No stipulation, just a simple one-on. You don't have to have stipulation. It's just a simple one-on-one match. Let him show all, and it'd be a hell of a match. But it's a toss-up for me. I'm not totally on what's going to happen. We predict, and that's fine. But I'm. Is it going to be a setup, or is it going to be a real farewell? And obviously he said his farewell in his documentary on the network,
Right.
Last Ride. But saying that for years, especially even longer than we all expected. Bruce Pritchard himself talked about, that he's been saying this for many years. So it just, part of me believes he's done. But I think the only person that can really make his last match the way it should be would be AJ Styles. I don't really think of anybody. And I know there's some really talented guys out there that can make a great matchup. I might view what I can think of. I don't think anybody can do it as well as AJ Styles. And that goes to Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins. I think it's those guys, but I don't think there's enough chemistry inside that can pull it off quite as well. And I guess I'm being a little biased because I'm a much bigger AJ Styles fan than pretty much almost anybody in that entire roster. But I just don't. And it's as well as the characters and the storytelling. I just don't think that anybody let's say hypothetically, Daniel Bryan's great performer, that goes without saying, but it wouldn't make any sense to jump in.
Well, I wouldn't even want to put either one of them in that spot. If I was to choose an opponent for the Undertaker to be the last one to go out, there is a couple people that I could see them doing. I could see them doing the Fiend as a passing of the torch. But I mean,
with the Fiend character,
huh?
With the Fiend character himself, but it's a toss up. But yeah, I give it's with the Fiend character, not so much a time of Bray Wyatt. So
right. And my thought would be, if they do that, they can actually work it around to where they could do it as a like Firefly Funhouse, to where they can kind of protect Undertaker's body. I know a lot of people didn't like the Firefly Funhouse, but it provides a little bit of storytelling in it, where they can go through the past Undertaker characters that he was in like WCW and whatnot, as like Mark Callis, have him be Biker Taker at one point, the Dead Man, the Ministry, kind of playing with that tactic of it.
I'm not saying it's a bad idea at all. I think it's a fine idea, but I wish they would have held off from from their match a few years ago. But a few years ago, and done it, if they were going to do it, it had to be this time. I just to revisit. I mean, and they're part of that. I can't believe it because who's to say WWE doesn't, fumble on that one and don't do what they need to do for the future of the team. So, I get what you're saying, but I think there could be more in the detail sort out with the styles. I mean, all people are saying, well, Seth Rollins. I'm like, yeah, Seth Rollins would be a good choice, but I just, in a different storytelling, I just don't think I can go along with Seth Rollins in that position. Nothing wrong with him. I think he's a great heel, great in ring of obviously, but there's not enough. I guess I would say a story in some ways. It's just
I wouldn't be a fan of Rollins. The only other person I could see doing besides the Fiend is John Cena, and it's only because John Cena could take the heat of being his final match.
I just they did it, and I just don't think people were going to. There's going to be too much of that memory of the squash match,
right?
So if the squash match never happened, I would definitely think, okay, if it ain't gonna be Styles, has to have seen it. But with the memory and knowing of the squash match, I just to be really invested in that, for myself, I just couldn't be as well in that, and knowing how they went about it. That squash match should never have been down like that. I know Taker was not happy about that either. I'm sure Cena wasn't either. But Vince did his deed, and that's all there is to it.
There's a long-standing rumor that it'll be Drew as his last match. Drew McIntyre. I'm not a fan of that, but
I mean, I'm not either.
I preferably would book the Fiend in a Firefly Funhouse. I think that would be a good way for him to go out, play with it.
You mean Firefly Funhouse match?
Yes.
Oh, I can't do that, man. I'm not on board with that. I mean, I thought you meant like Firefly, like do promos.
No. So, kind of like what they did to John Cena, but do it with Undertaker, and not necessarily all cartoony, but basically, the Fiend goes into Undertaker's mind, if you will, and makes him relive his past. I think it would be decent. It would be protecting Undertaker in the terms of a match. It would be just something different. Now, the only thing I could think of is a Boneyard match, but I don't think the Fiend works in a Boneyard match.
I mean, it could. Definitely, it would. I think it would fit him okay as well. But if I'm going to watch an Undertaker match, or at least a one last match, it has to be in a ring. That's me. I mean, I don't see how you do it any other way, because they did the theatrical thing for his last match. It was a good match, great match. It was great storytelling and all, but for his last farewells, it's got to be in the ring.
I just don't know if he'll be able to do it because of how beat up he is.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be rough. I mean, it's rough for every time he steps in the ring. I mean, it may not be match of the year, but I can't. I'm not him, but if it was me, it would have to be in a ring. That's where, obviously, where your whole world centers around it. But that's where I started, and that's where I want to leave it off at, is in the ring. And like I said, if it wasn't his last match, fine, go for the Firefly Funhouse and that story you talk about. I think it'd be great. But if it's just going to be, hey, okay, I'm going to do one more match and that's it, then it's
What if they did Sting versus Taker in a Boneyard, protecting both their bodies?
I'm going to stick with no. If it's going to be his last match, both of them being the last match, it has to be in the ring. If it's just going to be like another storyline during their careers, and okay, but them two, I would have to see them in the ring. But if it's just going to be like, okay, we're going to have a run for a month or two, maybe 3 at the tops, then you can do something like that too.
Yeah.
But like I said, it whoever is involved, it has to be in the ring. That's how that's just. I mean, I know he's hurting, and like I said, it's not going to be match of the year. I know he's going to be more. That's the other thing about it is that is he mentally able to do it? You know,
Yeah.
it's and that's then and that goes whether it's a theatrical match or in ring. It's does he feel confident? Does he feel confident enough in his body and mentally? Is he going to be able to have that one last match? Because if he's going to feel like, well, I don't think I can pull it off, he's not going to do it. And
Mm.
that's then he's not only said it, but I can understand. It's if I can't pull off and and tell myself, can I outdo how happy I was with the Boneyard match? That's the other side of it. It's not just about one more match, but can I do one more match up to par? So anyway, but yeah, it's got to be in the ring for me.
Okay. Oh, it's just a thought. I prefer.
Yeah.
I have a fancy booking in my head about it. Let's leave it
Oh
at that.
no, I think
Um,
I think it's really good booking. Like I said, it's not he coming back to return for a few months or 6 months or whatnot. It's that's
a
if he does.
friend of mine believes that he won't have a match at all.
Oh, yeah, that's fine too. I mean, that's where that's where their half of me is at. I think there's a good possibility he's just going to come out and say farewell, and maybe they'll have like what they done for Ric Flair, and they had a lot of wrestlers come down there and hey, thank you, and then happy retirement. That's the other
Yeah.
side too. So I mean, if that happens, I'm not going to be one bit surprised, and I'm not going to be disappointed. You know, as people have, the main person that had that was mainly Flair, and I was like, yeah, that's a taker. So
Yeah.
here's one question: do you think that moment's going to be the closeout part of the show? Is that going to be like in the middle of the show? What do you think?
On that, it'll probably be right after the main event.
And I think it's the best way to do it. Honestly, close it out with the guy. His debut was that's obviously.
Yeah. That's what the significance of it is. It was at this pay-per-view.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it should close out the show. Honestly, no matter what ending the main event is, they should close it out with Taker.
Mm-hmm. And that, well, I mean, just like if that's gonna be his farewell, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was going to be a setup or something, it still needs to be the end of the show.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Why not?
Well, I can't see it being if that's what it is, and that's his last little bit no match. I can't see it being placed anywhere else. I don't think it makes sense being placed anywhere else.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking if he's going to stick around even longer, definitely do it in the beginning because that at least you get people excited at the idea that they'll be able to see Undertaker going forward. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If well, let me rephrase. If he does get one last match, and like let's say they go with my idea of a Firefly Funhouse, if they do that, it should not be the main event. It should be right before the main event because I think they're going to run into like I said for the Firefly Funhouse. I think they're going to run into a situation where people are not going to be happy with it. So they have to have a good main event to send people home happy.
Well, does it mean to set up the match at that? Hey, how about WrestleMania? We have a fire. They could just have a running or something. But
Well,
yeah.
I like the idea of him going out in Survivor Series. Yes, he is tied 100% to, excuse me, they is tied to WrestleMania from the streak, but I just when it comes to that,